Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Church Talk podcast today with just Jason, as Rob is in the midst of a study leave and some other things. And so, but we press on because we understand that pastors, hey, we want to support you in the middle of summer as well as in the middle of busy seasons. Hopefully, this July, this is when we're recording. I think this will come out in late July. Hopefully, you have had some time to relax and rest and maybe recuperate. I know a lot of churches are in the middle of vacation Bible school and camps and all this stuff. But in the midst of it, I do hope you took a minute to breathe and to enjoy at least a moment or two maybe with friends, maybe it's by yourself, whatever works for you. But we are glad that you took a few minutes to share with us. And we hope that, over the next few weeks, as we share some more things, that you'll reach out to us, you'll communicate with us. We love hearing from the listeners. We love interacting with you. And you can reach us, Jason at churchtalkproject.com or Rob at churchtalkproject.com. You can find us on the socials and all that fun stuff as well. But we just love hearing from you and love interacting and can't wait to share your stories and see what's going on. Today, even without Rob, we have a great guest, and I'm really excited that I get to rub with Rob that she actually has some connection to Indiana Wesleyan University, which is, he's an alumnus and his son is currently there as well. And he misses this. And so it's just going to be kind of fun to rub that in. But I have with me today, Yvonne Carlson, who is the Chief Technology Officer at ExploreGod. And I'm going to read a few things just because I think this really lays the foundation for this conversation. Yvonne has over 20 years of experience in Christian broadcasting and digital innovation, and she is dedicated to leveraging next generation tools such as data systems, AI-assisted platforms to expand global digital outreach. And yet, and this is really the important part, remaining deeply rooted in the gospel mission. Yvonne, you've been the Vice President of Product and Unit Life, which is Unite Life, and you held key strategic leadership positions at Moody Radio Network, which that's one I know about that one, and then Pathway to Victory at First Baptist in Dallas. Man, this is cool to me. You have a bachelor's degree in psychology from Colorado Christian University, and you did graduate studies in communication technology at the University of Denver. Yeah, my wife is a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So anytime you start talking psychology and all that stuff, it gets me excited. The list of accolades here go on, but I just want to say I'm so glad that we have someone with such an amazing experience in this online concept, all the digital stuff, but it's grounded and set and rooted in your faith and so forth. So Yvonne, thank you so much for taking some time to join us on the Church Talk podcast.
Thank you, Jason. I am so glad to be here with you today.
Well, I've got some questions for you, but maybe let's just start out really simply. Tell your story. We were talking before we hit record, and I know you're a pastor's wife, which I'll be praying for you.
Thank you.
But maybe did you grow up in the faith? Tell me a little bit about you.
Well, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to say things that'll probably be outside of your normal podcast guest.
Well, you'd be surprised.
Why would? Okay. Well, so I grew up in an interfaith home. My mother's family actually converted from Judaism to Catholicism. And then my father is Protestant, Baptist to be specific. So you'll see that I've been in the Baptist church, or I've served in a Baptist church. So I grew up in the church, but I grew up with this sense of a broader understanding of faith traditions, plural, and how that impacted my view on Christianity. So I love the Jewish connection because it really helps me understand the Old Testament, helps you understand the New. So that has been really neat. And then being in the Catholic Church, I am a confirmed Catholic. I came to saving faith in a Baptist church, however. Yeah, see, I told you this is going to
I love it. This is awesome.
And I really do appreciate my brothers and sisters that come from, other faith traditions, and really, like, at the end of the day, what's the why? The why is the Trinity. The why is that Jesus, died and rose again. And so being able to have some depth to be able to have those conversations with other people who maybe come from a different faith tradition or see things differently, I really appreciate that conversation. And it's really perfect for being an Explore God
Yeah.
because we get people from all of these different faith traditions, and being able to create rapport and understand where they're coming from, that's what I always want to do. Obviously, I'm delivering that through technology, but my
Yeah.
personal conversations look like that too.
Wow. Okay, that is a unique story, that's for sure. We have had others that have unique in themselves, but I love I do love that eclectic background, right? The melting pot of those things. And so, how did that shape your like concept of even of Jesus? Blending that, and then now I don't know how did that? How can you trace those streams coming together in you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, going to catechism, I learned, the tradition of the Catholic faith. Being in a Protestant tradition that focus on Bible reading and personal relationship. So I brought both of them together. So on one hand, Judaism and Catholicism really have this sense of awe and wonder and reverence for God. And obviously more liturgical, more traditional. And where the Protestant tradition is, thank you, Martin Luther, right? Opening up the idea of what it means to be a church, what it means to be a Christian, and how that comes together for me is I have both a root in traditional Christianity, and then I also have a deep root in the personal relationship that I have with Jesus. Like, I think having that contrast or growing up with that contrast helped me to understand that that personal relationship with the king of the universe, with the God of all creation, is really where it all starts. So that's the so what for me, or where I landed, with all of those streams coming together.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I love that. I mean, I grew up in a Christian home, and spent all of my life as a follower of Jesus. Like I didn't have that wandering away. We were conservative, buckle of the Bible belt type. So hearing other people's experiences in that is always I enjoy it. I love hearing, how people have gone through things and explored that. Well, let's dive into the topic at hand. You are part of ExploreGod.com, and tell me, like, you're the chief technology that's just such an impressive title. What does that mean? And then maybe tell me a little bit more about Explore God.
Sure. So, a chief technology officer, our main job is to enable the goals and objectives of the organization through technology. So, what tools, what capabilities does the organization need in order to achieve its mission? So, applying that to Explore God, we use ads, right, to reach out to people who have not yet heard the gospel. And then we want to connect them with an online missionary. Well, once I connect with that online missionary, how could I use AI to aid that missionary in their conversation? And it might look like giving them resources or scripture that they could use and share in that digital conversation. So at the end of the day, if you look at it from a higher level, my goal is to take people and process and codify that into tools and use data to understand how we did. So if you have the people follow processes to get their work done, they use tools to aid them, and they use data to decide how well they did. And so at the end of the day, aligning those four pillars is what a CTO does. It's beyond technology. It's not just, and believe me, I'm a total geek at heart, but it's beyond the technology. It's really, are we achieving the mission? And if we're not, then we need to have different conversations within the organization.
So in Explore God, maybe give me the quick overview of what Explore God is, and then we can start talking about what does technology look like within that framework.
Sure. So, Explore God, our focus is digital evangelism and discipleship. So, I mentioned the evangelism part, right? Using ads to reach out to people, give them an opportunity to hear the gospel, and then they can respond. And there are two different paths they could take. They could have a self guided journey meaning, hey, I have some questions. I want to ask some questions. I want to read a couple of articles. I think I need some content. I'm not ready to talk to a person. And then we have online missionary led conversations. Some people say, it's time for me to talk to a person, or I want to talk to a person immediately because I have this question that I need answered, or I'm confused about something. Can you help me understand? And that really is where we see the discipleship, right? Human to human. I'm walking alongside you, going through a Bible study, really helping you understand what it means to be a Christian, what is prayer like? What is what reading my Bible? Well, what does that really look like? How do I know I'm growing? How do I know I'm flourishing? Because it's easy to check a box, but we're not into checking boxes. That's not the point. We want to see people transformed by the gospel.
Okay. So tell me then, like, how do you know that a person, it could be anywhere in the globe, right? It is experiencing transformation.
So we have a tool just for that, and it measures spiritual growth, and it's looking at different indicators. So there's what people tell us. So you might tell me, "Hey, I'm praying every day." Wonderful. The online missionaries are also asking questions. Are you are you in a Bible believing church? Are you going to church? Are you sharing your faith with other people? So I call this, and I'm a military kid. My dad was Air Force, signal processing, right? People are giving us signals, right? Online missionaries are interpreting their signals and clarifying. At the end of the day, are we seeing fruit? Are we seeing people move forward? And if not, how do we help them? Like if they aren't reading their Bible, how would we aid them? Again, that's where AI can't come in. I could suggest a Bible study to you that has the basics of the Christian faith. Things like that, you know, supplementing and meeting people where they are, because it's really human relationship that's centered and central to spiritual formation.
All right. So you said you track these things, or you use AI, you use digital technology to help people find flourishing. How does, and I'm just going to jump right into it. What does AI, how does that interact with the processes that your online missionaries use when it comes to, like, actually, I don't know, helping someone that they maybe have never met in person, but what does that look like?
So it's smart enough to know where the conversation is going. So again, Bible reading. And as you're chatting with someone, it'll say, "Hey," and you can prompt it. So we believe in human in the loop. So you could automatically turn it on and it would just pop up and say, "I think you should do this." We give people that choice at this point. I can click on this tool and say, "Hey, follow along with my conversation and offer me some responses to the question or to what the individual is saying." And it looks through the context of the conversation and it offers scripture or resources. And again, it's a prompt. Whatever answer it provides, this is not necessarily a copy and paste. It's a more help me think about how I could answer this person. Now you could use the answer as is. You read it through and you think, that's exactly what I'd like to say. Or you could say, you know what? No, that's not exactly what I want to say. I'm gonna take some of the ideas you gave me. Oh, I like that scripture. Oh, that was a good one. I'll make sure and include that. And then I'll write or construct my own response. So really what we want to do is aid people, give them materials and resources that they need to have the conversation. We don't want to replace the conversation. So right now, think about it administratively. So say I'm having, again, a Bible reading. Oh, where's that Bible reading plan? I need a link to that. It serves it up. I don't have to search for it. It's right there. I can send it to that person and then they could right away start on that plan.
So you're primarily using this within the context of your online missionaries, not with the people who maybe engage because they saw an ad or they saw a link, or somehow connected to Explore God as a one being discipled. You're using it to equip the missionaries. Am I hearing you
That's
right?
the main focus. Now, note that When we talk about AI, it's infused into so many of our systems.
Oh, yeah.
So even the ad platforms, the way it delivers an audience to you or packages an audience. Here are the people we think you should talk to. Like all of that is using AI. So yes, we're using AI there because that's baked into the platform. And it's really just, can we find the people who actually want to have the conversation, or who are interested in Christianity, who want to learn more?
Wow. So, okay, my mind is going about five different directions. I have questions I want to get to, but I also want to notice something. The way you're using AI is to basically help connect Explore God with people who are actually seeking or searching, or I'm part of an organization called 95 Network, and we've been doing stuff for years, but we just did a big kind of reorganize, restructure, re-strategize type situation, and what we were finding was that there are 350,000 churches in America, give or take, and 80 to 90% of them are under 500 in their weekly attendance. And that was kind of our focus, was that smaller church feel. But we also realized that it feels like 80 to 90% of those 80 to 90%, they weren't necessarily looking for help or asking for it. And so we said, we want to figure out who actually wants help
Right.
and really focus on that. And that kind of sound, I mean, in a similar
Very
vein,
similar.
what you're doing now.
If you're open to a conversation, what did Jesus do when he
Yeah.
came into a new town? He looked for people. He looked for places or spaces where people were searching, right? And he connected with them and met them there.
So how, I mean, if you don't mind, not trying to give away any secrets, but how do you use AI in that way? Is it just baked into?
It's baked into the platforms that we
Okay.
advertise in.
Okay.
So it learns about the people that you want to reach, and it understands demographics or psychographics of that audience, right? Maybe your interests. Maybe you don't have any sort of religious affiliation. So it's looking at different aspects of a person, right? And then saying, okay, how can I reach that person? So we call these personas in advertising, right? So what's the persona of the person we're reaching? It could be education level. It could be obviously language. What language do they speak? And I'm going to talk to somebody differently in Spanish than I am in English, perhaps, or especially, in the Middle East, the 1040 window. Their concept of Jesus is very different than the
Yeah.
West concept. So maybe I have to have, different conversations with them, but we're contextualizing the content to them to really, again, this is about loving people well enough to understand their context and the road they're walking on. And then the messaging that we're delivering is to connect with them, really truly connect her to their heart. So they will be interested in hearing more about Jesus.
Uh, and maybe I'm moving beyond your scope a little bit, but I'm just curious, do you find that when you connect with people, have they been using AI to try to learn about spirituality? About,
Yes. More
and
and more so every day. If you can think about using Google, for example, as a search engine, and you go in, and at the top of the page, it gives you that AI generated response, right? And Chat GPT, Claude, all of these different AI tools that you can talk with like a person. And just having worked with friends who are also in Christian AI. I'm the co-director of Missional AI, which is the largest gathering of Christians in AI in the world. We gather for a global conference. So I've met people who are working in this space, obviously, and people have an amazing amount of self-disclosure.
yeah.
That's the thing that really surprises me. That level of anonymity is really important because, like, hey, I'm bearing to you my greatest, deepest, darkest sin. And so people want authentic, real relationship. And that's why the online missionaries are so crucial. Because if they're met with just AI, that will be hollow. That is not going to be we're not going to achieve the spiritual formation that is again, back to loving them well, loving them well enough to connect them with the human. So in above and beyond these tools that can help them or help them take steps, at the end of the day, we want you to journey with a human. So our goal is 5 million discipleship journeys by 2033. So
Wow.
this is human to human
Wow.
discipleship.
That that's phenomenal, and I'm excited about that. So I've been wrestling through a whole bunch of this just in my role with Converge Mid Atlantic and helping churches. And I do a thing from Clarity House called Dream Disciple, where we help churches identify the kinds of disciples that they want to
Oh,
multiply.
you get this. You get this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, uh, and I'm thinking through this, like, I feel like for the past 50 plus years, the church has really relied on what I call programmatic evangelization, or institutional evangelization, where it's kind of the church will take care of it, and whoever the church is, usually that's the professionals, or a program of, if they just take class A, B, and C, they'll be discipled. And it totally misses the person to person, heart to heart
Right.
connection. And I think we're reaping the consequences of that in everything we're seeing. And so I love that the way you guys are approaching this is, hey, how do we connect people to people? And so maybe how does that work? Like, I mean, just logistically, because 5 million discipleship relationships, that's really 10 million people in a way. Like, what does that look like? How are you doing that, or, scaling up to that?
So right now we're advertising in 13 languages across the globe, and we plan to add another 2 here shortly. And we're continuing to add more languages because we want to reach more people. And we're continuously, we have a whole team. We have people in country, and we're talking about what is it that people are searching for? What do they need to hear? How can we connect, like on the messaging side? So, for example, there's a lot going on in the world. You know this, so people may be struggling with fear. It's that felt need. How do I connect with the people in that moment so they realize that God cares about their fear? God wants to walk alongside them. Jesus wants to have a relationship with them and help them to navigate that feeling. So it's really about God, God's story for that person's life, and that we're just a chapter in that story. We're just part of that person's formation.
How are you finding disciplers, online missionaries? Because those are real people. That it's not a bot.
Absolutely,
how
absolutely.
how are you finding them and equipping them?
So, for people who are interested, they can go to ExploreGod.com, and we have a whole section there for people who are interested in being online missionaries. And we have a few questions for them, and they do go through a vetting process, and because we want to understand where they are in their own faith journey, and can they communicate that effectively to another person, and do they have that spiritual maturity to be able to handle some of those tougher questions? Like, I remember coming from broadcast ministry and the call center, we would get all kinds of wonderful questions like, what's the Trinity? Your pastor explaining the Trinity, like in depth, takes some doing. So not only do we anticipate those questions, we equip online missionaries. They go through training. So they're getting theological training. They have a community leader who's been doing this for some time, who really understands what it means to do this kind of online ministry. And that is a resource to them. So there's a lot of peer to peer connection there. And then the person who leads Anna, who leads our response team, she has regular huddle hours with these individuals and pours into them. There's a whole team that supports them. So we give you the tool. We want to make sure that you've got a good theological foundation, and we have specialty communities. So for people who are dealing with, for example, suicide, there is a whole specialty community there to walk through that particular issue with that person. So it's really actually pretty complex. It's no
Yeah.
different than ministering to people in a church in a lot of ways, where you have different ministries that are meeting different needs. I'm sure you can see the parallel.
Well, it's almost like church, a church structure without having to deal with the programs of church
Right.
that we've kind of made as though they're the most important thing. Like, I mean, you don't have to prepare for a Sunday morning experience every week. Instead, you can focus all of your time on pouring into the online missionaries who are then pouring into the people who are connecting with them. I mean, it sounds extremely biblical.
Discipleship, right?
I know.
Alongside people. And at the end of the day, in no way do we want to replace the church. We're actually our admonition is for people to find a healthy church. We want them to be plugged in so that transformation doesn't end at I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior and I'm reading my Bible and I'm praying. How am I serving in community? How am I talking with other people? Am I sharing my faith? And am I in a church? Am I discipling others? I mean, that's that whole multiplication piece. It really takes us all. Yeah, I mean, I think that again, like I said, we're just a chapter in somebody's journey.
Yeah.
It really takes us all to reach people for Christ and help them grow and flourish.
I love that, and I this is where, I mean, on a secondary level, I want our listeners to hear the priority of discipleship. Like, that
Hmm.
I mean, that's the Great Commission
Right.
was go make disciples.
That's what we want to do is fulfill the Great Commission. And think about this. You can do this from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
If you want to be an online missionary, there is no barrier of time zone. Well, I mean, you might depending on who you're reaching, but you don't have to move. You don't have to join a missions organization. You can serve whether you're a part. There are churches that serve. There's churches that have a whole group of people who are online missionaries, and they may meet physically, right?
Mhm.
Like our group of online missionaries at this church. But at the end of the day, we're giving people a vehicle to do personal ministry. And I love that we can take people who have depth and breadth in scripture, and maybe they're retired,
Mm.
but they know their word and they can disciple so many more people online than they may have been able to do even physically. So that's the part that's you were talking about scale. Like
Yeah.
that's the part that's really exciting. That you can have an individual personal ministry and reach people literally all over the world.
Yeah. Well, and that's really, I mean, if you ask any pastor, they'll say, number one, yes, we're supposed to make disciples. And they would probably say, and we want our people to be making disciples,
Right.
right? And
Right.
and so there is a part of this that I'm like, I really wish I really hope that our listeners, our pastors that are part of this can understand, first of all, the connection to Explore God. Like, making that connection could be a good thing because all of a sudden you've got a built-in training system for your people to do ministry that's not just inside the walls of the church. It's
Exactly.
actual discipleship ministry it may not grow your church specifically in a given time period, right? It may not add to Sunday morning attendance, but it's a kingdom mindset of
Right.
saying, yeah, I mean, Jesus didn't say go build big churches. He said go make disciples. And so finding that connection point, I think is important. So how do you see how do you see over the next, you said 2033, like, what are some ways that you see this occurring around the world? Like, I know got kind of the digital marketing. I don't know. What are some of the dreams that Explore God has for the next, what is that, 9 or 5 years, give or take?
Besides 5 million discipleship journeys by 2033, expanding into different languages. And that's to be able to bring the gospel to a group of people that maybe isn't getting that focus. And I also see our digital lives becoming really important in that people are going to make the comparison between in-person embodied experience and online experience. And they're going to ask themselves, what is authentic and true? So I think organizations like Explore God, who focus on the human to human connection in this AI driven world, I think people are going to be drawn to that because they want authentic ministry. It can't be just about the technology. So I think there are people using technology. We're all using technology. We're using it right now to have this conversation, right?
Yeah.
But for those organizations who are really focusing on the Great Commission and really focusing on deep discipleship, I think we're going to see growth. I think we're going to see a hunger and a thirst from individuals to be part of what God is doing online. And let me tell you, it is incredible. The stories of transformation, just go on exploregod.com. There's a whole bunch of stories of transformation from people all over the world. And these stories you couldn't dream of.
Hmm.
There are absolutely God stories where he's reached into somebody's life. I have a friend who is from the Middle East and he's from a closed country. And he went online and he typed, "How do I find Jesus?" And now he's serving in ministry. It's people like him. He's a young guy. People like him that God wants to equip and use, and we're just a vehicle. So I think that he's going to continue to do this. Like I'm just seeing more and more traction for this kind of ministry because as you know, being a pastor, and I've had these conversations because I've also been a digital church planner. I've had these conversations where, well, we want to get people into church. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a technologist, but I will never say to you that I do not want in-person ministry. I would never say that because that's not the point. The point is human to human, right? We would never replace that. But as a step along the journey, could God use something like this, like Explore God, to even just make people aware that there is a God
Yeah.
and that being part of a church is important?
What is that? Let's go back to your friend from the closed country. You said he typed, "How do I find Jesus?" Was this like from that closed country that he went online and searched that?
Yes.
And so maybe give us the highlights. How did he move from typing into his search engine, "How do I find Jesus?" to being connected with Explore God and where he's at now? Like, what does that look like?
Well, usually what it looks like, the normal flow of things is that once someone sees an ad, and that's what's important. That's where there's that divine moment, I think. You think about like Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. I live in the Charlotte area, and you think about the people who turned on the TV at the right moment and they put their hand on the screen and they prayed the sinner's prayer. The same thing is happening online. The right ad is getting to the right person at the right time, and that's divine. That's not anything that you and I have done. It's God connecting with that person when they need it. And then once they've seen that ad, they can give us their contact information. They give us their contact information, and that's when we start journeying alongside them, person to person. So, an online missionary, they'll get a contact, and what's neat is that we have the thought that you're going to journey with that person. So it's online missionary that's going to connect with that individual in perpetuity, right? I am on a journey with you. It could be years.
Hmm.
I mean, some of these people have been discipled by Explore God OMs for years.
Wow. I mean that's I love that you think that way because I just the whole idea of getting conversions and then moving on really bothers me. It just
Mhm.
troubles my soul. And so I love that your mindset is wrapped around even training the online missionaries up front. Hey, this is not about reaching you, one person reaching a million people. This is about you reaching a few and journeying with them, over time until, whatever may happen. It may be they get connected to a local church and that's good, or, whatever it may be. But this is not I've got a magic bullet. that I come in with and
Right.
wave my magic wand and boom, they're converted. Now I'm done. I did my job. I love that that's the mindset because I'm not sure it's been the mindset of at least the Western church for the
Right.
last, 50 years.
And not everybody's journey is the same.
No, no. And that's, and it's okay, to
Exactly.
actually, and I mean, it's not sexy to commit to spending a long time walking with one person. You don't make headlines doing that,
Right.
right?
Right.
And everybody wants to be that, a headline that I look at all I did type stuff. And so I love that that's the mentality. And I really think, again, as a local church pastor, we need to learn from that. Because when I have been when I've been equipping people to be disciplers, to be disciples who disciple, I I have to I have to tell them this is a journey. This is not you lead them through one Bible study and you're done.
Right.
This is
Exactly.
and it's a little overwhelming when you think about even just evangelism because man, if I really invest in a relationship and then that person isn't a believer, they come to know Jesus, I'm committing myself to walk with them for a while. And I I mean that kind of scares me at times because I'm like,
It's a lot of responsibility.
yes, yes.
What we're made for. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we're here at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Oh, it really is. Well, we're getting close to our time, and this I feel like we just started. But what's giving you hope as you look for the next, into the future? What's giving Yvonne Carlson, technology officer, hope?
Two things. One, it's incredible how many Christians there are in technology. So obviously I'm at these AI conferences and I speak on AI and people will say to me, "Oh, I'm not sure about this AI stuff. I don't know if it's good." And then I start telling them about my friends who are Christians who work in the biggest companies in the world in AI, in secular companies, companies out in different spaces. And so just like God had, you know, during the ancient times, they would station watchmen on the walls. God has stationed watchmen and women like myself on the walls. And we know what time it is and we understand the responsibility that we wield as technologists about redemptively, and I'm saying redemptively, deploying these kinds of technologies. And the other thing I'm really excited about is, I'm sure you've heard people talk about this, but there's a great awakening happening in our world. And I'm seeing it online every day. And because of the other organizations that I'm involved with, again, talking with other people who are doing really similar work, I'm seeing collaboration like I've never seen before.
Wow.
Especially in this space of digital evangelism and discipleship. God is raising up men and women who are deeply passionate about reaching the world together. It doesn't matter who gets credit. It's we need to fulfill the Great Commission. How can we do it together? And each brings his own strengths, his own talents, if you will, right? And it's together that we will be able to answer the need that's out there. But I see God working in new and different ways, just really incredible. The kind of like an urgency.
Yeah.
I really sense that.
Hmm.
And when I talk to my brothers and sisters across the globe.
I love that. I really do. I appreciate what you're doing because I just see even local churches can connect with this and not only become part of a global thing, I think it makes them better at making disciples locally as well.
Absolutely. You get all of this practice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice. And then there's the layer of, I'm doing this digitally. So that's a little harder than the in person. Or some people, their personalities, those introverts out there may say, that's for me. But at the end of the day, you get to disciple and fulfill your calling to the Great Commission as an individual. Like that's the thing that excites me. Like this opportunity for everyone who calls themselves a Christian to all they need is a computer or a phone and they can reach their world.
So real quick, that just brought up a question. So I get connected to an online missionary. I type in a search bar, how do I find Jesus? And I see an ad for Explore God and I click on it and I say, yeah, tell me more. Is that relationship, does it ever get to the point where it is maybe like a video call like this or a phone call, or is it all via,
It's all digital at this point. We want to protect people's
right,
identity.
right,
We have talked about doing audio and video, and I'm not saying we won't, but we want to really, really think about that because in some cases, people need anonymity because they're in countries where it's illegal to share the gospel. So there's some things to think through there, but technology is just a tool, so God can use it however He chooses.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought, but it just dawned on me. Wow, I wonder how, and maybe at some point, there's a way to connect people after a while. After,
Some of it's in person.
yeah,
We do have, again, this depends on what language and what region you're talking about, but there are, in-person meetings as well.
yeah.
So it really varies depending on the context.
It sounds very running this organization would sound extremely complex because it's
It
all
is.
relationships and
It is complex. It
it,
is complex.
it's like
Yes, it is.
herding
But it's
cats.
exciting.
Yes.
It's the challenges or the problems we have to solve in order to do what we do.
Yeah.
For me, it's a puzzle, and I like puzzles, so I'm like and my whole team is like that, our whole technology team. So, it's again back to where we all have different talents, and so for me, it excites me to be able to give, missionaries tools to do ministry and change hearts and minds and lives, and that's what gets me up
Yeah.
in the morning.
I love that. Well, if you are listening today as a pastor, as a leader, you need to check out exploregod.com. There's a lot of good stuff there, a lot of stories that are just exciting and will just get your heart going in a good way. Yvonne, thank you for taking the time. And I look forward. I'm sure we will talk again because
I would love that.
my mind is going about 5 different places that I think, we could even extend this conversation, sometime soon. So, hey, thank you, and to all our listeners, have an amazing week. We are cheering for you, we love you, and we can't wait to hear stories about disciple making and in your church, in your neck of the woods, so to speak, and, hopefully you can connect with Explore God and find new and creative ways to do it. Have an amazing week, and, we will talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining us today at the Church Talk podcast. We hope the conversation encouraged and challenged you. We would love to hear from you. Email your questions or comments to jason@churchtalkproject.com. The Church Talk podcast with Rob and Jason is brought to you by the Church Talk Project. We work to engage, equip, and encourage pastors and church leaders around the world. Thanks for listening.